Hey, Sean here, and just wanted to make a quick little about on how to play Icefury. I know there's not really a lot of information on how to play the spec like really well out there as far as Icefury goes, and a lot of, at least the Shaman Discord will just tell you to play Primal Elementalist instead of actually giving you tips on how to play Icefury. So, yeah. So we'll just quickly run through this, and I'll just kind of talk about my decision making and kind of how you should approach your decision making when you're playing Icefury. And I thought Painsmith is a pretty good fight on how to do that since it's pretty much fully single target. Um, of course, the ball is coming in and everything, but it's a fight where the extra mobility from Icefury is really beneficial, and knowing how to just play Icefury on this fight is huge to actually doing good damage. So we'll play it. Start from the beginning, and let's see the standard opener. Start everything. And then, so we're going to do this, and then lightning bolt, and then we're going to Icefury now, so here it comes. So you'll see, so right there, I Icefuried, and generally when you ice, like, so the most important thing with Ellie is to, like, get as many casts of everything as possible. You want maximum Lava Burst casts, you want maximum Elemental Blast casts, you want maximum Icefury casts. And you always, always, always want all 4 Frost Shocks fully used, which when you first started, it seems really daunting to do that. Like I literally was averaging, I think, like 2.5 Frost Shocks, like every race for the first when I first started out. It was like really hard to figure out how exactly to fit them all in. And I would say probably the biggest thing for doing that is just not to focus too hard on empowering every Frost Shock with uh, moat. Like if you can get them, good, but the biggest thing is if you can see right here, that's the Heimer buff, the crit buff from the Necro Soulbind. Um, and this is for Necro, by the way. I don't play Night Fan Raid. I think Night Fan Raid is kind of trolling, but it's a whole different thing. Um, the most important thing with your Frost Shocks is that you always want to get as many as possible during the Heimer window. That's way more important than like almost anything else. So you have to kind of weigh your decision making against that, and you'll see here. So this is the first Icefury of the fight, which is right after the opener, Stormkeeper, which is like Lava Burst, and you Lightning Bolt, and you Lava Burst or Shock Lava Burst Lightning Bolt, and then you typically, like, if you get a proc, make sure you use the Lava Burst again, and by that time usually your Heimer will proc. So this is like one of the freest like Frost Shocks you can, or freest Icefuries of the fight. It's like one of the easiest to play, because mostly you just want to get as many of those Frost Shocks inside that Heimer window, and like it's very easy to get like at least 3, if not all 4 during it, and you can even moat most of them as well. And you'll see me. I'm just gonna guess. I think I probably will decide to do 2 Frost Shocks, or maybe 1 Frost Shock, then cast Elemental Blast, because a big thing with Icefury is like Icefury and Elemental Blast kind of line up with each other all the time. But Elemental Blast is way more important. You want always to cast Elemental Blast off CD. Like that is huge. It's so much Maelstrom, and basically with Ellie, like you just want to generate the maximum possible Maelstrom. So missing Elemental Blast for like 2 or 3 seconds is fucking terrible, because that will probably end up to be like, that's probably like at least 2 Earth Shocks by the end of the fight if you're like late on every Elemental Blast by 2 seconds. So I'll play it, and you'll see me here probably, yep, 1 Frost Shock, then Elemental Blast like I said, then I'll Frost Shock again, Frost Shock again. Now you'll see that I dumped here. I didn't moat the Earth Shock dump because it's just more important at this point, even though it will. Let me rewind it really quick. Let's see here. So it's kind of shitty timing, but we'll go through, just play it again. Icefury, Frost Shock, then Blast, then get a Frost Shock in the window, and then another Frost Shock, and then, oh my god, retarded. Go back one more time. So you'll see, so yeah. So I chose to dump there, and you'll notice that I was pretty much about to cap lava burst charges, and sometimes you just have to kind of sack the lava burst charges, which feels really bad, but I mean sometimes this is what you have to do, because at the end of the day, frost or earth shock casts are way more important, and wasting Maelstrom is just like super bad. So yeah, right there, it was just better to dump my Maelstrom than empower the moat or empower the earth shock and waste Maelstrom there. So that's why you would that's like a situation you would want to just straight up dump and not worry about moding it, because moding it is kind of bait. Mode is a little bit of a bait thing. Like you should treat it as a bonus, not a priority. Like it's really good when you can get it and like pat yourself on the back when you get it, but it shouldn't be your like number one focus. You should just focus on getting everything out, because an extra spell cast is better than um, one less spell cast, but that spell cast was about 20%. Because if it is about 20%, like say for example, um, you cast a spell, it hits for 8k, um, or you cast two spells, they hit for 8k each, as opposed to one spell hitting for 10k each. Like the second spell, yeah, it does less than just the one, but both of them together do 16k. So that's we just did 6k more just because you casted more. So I would say probably the second biggest thing is just focus on casting as many of your spells as possible, which seems like obvious advice, but like I think a lot of people when they start out they like really turd on getting moat like as their priority, when moat should never really be your like biggest priority. Um, but yeah, back to my decision making there. Like I decided to dump there, and you'll notice. So I think it's really important that you get a timer for how long your frost shocks will last, like in total. Like you need to see the exact time, because 15 seconds is actually a shit ton of time, but it feels like it's not when you're first starting, because you're like, man, I need to fit these frost shocks in, I need to moat them, then I still have to cast everything else. Like it's not a lot of time, but it actually really is. It's a very healthy window, and as you play more, you get really comfortable with it and knowing where you can fit those extra casts in, and know when you actually don't need it frost shock, and when you do need to just go. So yeah, so back to the original point, because we're like 30 seconds into the fight, and this is the easiest Icefury of the fight. Yeah, so we dumped there, and then we get the Lava Surge proc from the Lego. So we're gonna spend the Lava Surge, and then you'll notice I still have one Frost Shock left, but it's not like imminent, right? Like I have plenty of time to spend this, but the priority here now, because I have plenty of time to deal with that Frost Shock, and there's no Elemental Blast for a while, no Icefury for a while, so it's kind of good to actually just let the Frost Shock sit for a second, and we need to take care of our Lava Burst charges here, actually, is the priority now. And again, like I mentioned the priority a little bit before, but like priority shifts constantly as later in fights. It's probably one of the hardest specs to play in the game, as far as Icefury with the single target Lego and Elemental Blast and all that, but it is very rewarding when you figure out how to play it right. So we'll play it. You'll see I'll probably do two. Well, right there. So I needed to move. So the optimal play would have been to just cast two Lava Bursts there, but since I needed to reorient and move to look at the balls and everything, I just moved. Didn't want to blow Spirit Walker's Grace, so I just empowered the Frost Shock, spent it right then. But I would say the optimal play there would just be to dump both Lava Burst and then Frost Shock, and then like Lightning Bolt, and then between then and now, or between then and then, you would probably get another Lava Burst, and then you can Earth Shock, and it'll be pretty much like perfect on the timing. Yeah, so we'll play again. So now we have plenty of time. So this is when the rotation feels real easy. No Icefury for a while. You're just kind of casting, do like regular priority and everything. So what you call it? Of Icefury coming up in 7 seconds. And so another thing with Icefury that I highly recommend is I see a lot of people, the way they spend their Maelstrom is like, especially in the guides, they don't really tell you how to spend your Maelstrom properly. They just tell you not to cap. And the way you want to play your Maelstrom, and like they say like not to you don't have to spend immediately your Maelstrom as far as when you get to 60, and like that's generally true, yeah, but actually there's a lot of cases where you do want to just instantly, like, just like that, dump your Maelstrom as soon as you get enough to Earthshock. And one of those cases is, so you'll notice I have Elemental Blast coming up soon. Icefury is coming up like next GCD. So the biggest thing about like spending your Maelstrom is you want to dump if you know Elemental Blast or Icefury are coming up soon, because they give you so much Maelstrom. It's kind of awkward if, like, say I'm at a Lava Burst, I know Elemental Blast is coming up soon, and I'm at like 70, I'm at like 60 Maelstrom, right? So I'm at a Lava Burst, that's going to put me at 70, and then I'm an Elemental Blast, and then now I'm at 100 Maelstrom, but say I still have, say I get like a Lava Surge proc, well now I'm 10 Maelstrom over the cap, but it's still optimal here that I would moat because it's only 10, but that's still lost damage even though I can like kind of deal with it. Like, you just don't want to ever put yourself in that position in the first place. So you would, like, instead of doing that, you would just 60 to 70 with the Lava Burst. You would just spend it instantly Earthshock, and then Lava Burst again, and then say Elemental Blast comes up. Then you're moting the Elemental Blast, which isn't like the best thing to moat, but like now you have way more flexibility because you're starting back all the way down from 0, so like 0 to 10 Maelstrom. So that only puts you at like 50. And then, like, let's say the Doom situation is like when you get both Elemental Blast and Icefury coming out at the same time. So if you dump like before that, then, well, you got up to 50 from that Elemental Blast that I mentioned earlier, but now your ice, but you have way more room to Icefury now, so like you don't even have to sit on it, which is really good. Like, you never want to sit on either of those spells, so that actually like gives you so much flexibility as far as that goes. But yeah, keep playing. So you see the Icefury coming up, and you won't see it so far in this fight since we're in P1 of Pain Smith and it's super easy. And we have a lot of time to spend our Maelstrom, everything here, since this is pretty much like patchwork right now. So we get, this is, the second Icefury of the fight. What do you call, or third, sorry. This is, yeah, third. And we're kind of in a weird, and this is like also one of the harder Icefuries because it lines up a little bit before. So every Icefury that's right before Stormkeeper is kind of a go, go, go. Like, you need to just get rid of them. Don't worry really about empower them very much at all. You just want to get them out because Stormkeeper is way more important. It's way more damage, so you just want to kind of, in these situations, you just need to get rid of them like as soon as possible. And you'll probably see me do that here. I'm at a really awkward amount of Maelstrom too, which makes it even worse. And then the other thing is with Stormkeeper, you want 2 charges of Lava Burst too when it's coming up, so that you're not like sitting there, like if you have say like 1 and then you like Lava Burst Lightning Bolt and then you're just sitting there because you don't have like a proc, or then you're like forced to do an unmodded Earth Shock, which feels really bad as well, just to get the Lava Burst charge back. Like, that's kind of shitty. But yeah, so you'll see me here, and this is like, so you probably want to pay really close attention to how I do this because this is a really important one. So you'll see I just kind of got the Icefury off. That put me pretty close to cap, but not over cap, like around 94, I believe. So I Lava Burst. It's a little bit of Maelstrom wasted, but not that much, so it's not too bad. It's just, the situation I was in. I dealt with it as best I could, and that's the minimal loss that I could kind of incur. So now we're back to around 34, pretty flexible. Um, as far as time goes, we only have 7 seconds left on Icefury, so yeah, like I said, we're just gonna fucking spend these probably. We're probably gonna Lava Burst and then just blow all the Frost Shocks out of here because we need to get that Stormkeeper going. So you'll probably see me go Lava Burst, then Frost Shock, Frost Shock, Frost Shock, Frost Shock, yeah. And actually, since he phased there, you don't get to see like the full rewards of that because I get to just sit on the Stormkeeper now. So that was another thing I took into consideration probably at the time as well, because I knew he was going to phase. So I just also needed to get them out because they would just go to waste if I didn't get them out. So obviously the intermission's up next, so we'll just skip that. No need to see that. Go through. Okay, and then actually this is a really good point to see kind of another really awkward situation that can occur. typically from when you come out of intermissions like this, Shriekwing was actually, because I started playing Nathru, Shriekwing was like the first time I ever ran into this situation, which is like really weird, where you come back from an intermission after like not casting anything, so like you're just sitting on your CDs, like Elemental Blast, Icefury, Stormkeeper, and it's basically like pulling the fight over again, and that's kind of the approach that you just want to take. Like you just want to, like it feels really weird because like you've just been sitting on them and you obviously just want to get them on CD, but you kind of just have to the way the way things go. You just kind of have to treat it like you're pulling the boss, but like you're already in the fight again. So you're gonna like Elemental Blast, then Primordial, and then in this case I probably just full dump because I'm capped on Maelstrom. So I'm probably gonna. Oh nope, I decided to greed. I probably wouldn't recommend doing that, but then again I'm wasting a Lava Burst charge there, so like even though it it's a really tough situation. Honestly, that's one thing I'm also not 100% sure on, but that's probably like a really min-maxy thing that like you could just get into a big argument over. Personally, I think in that situation it's better to just, even though the Primordial Wave Lava Burst is gonna give you like a shit ton of extra Maelstrom that you're wasting, it's probably better to just get the Lava Burst charges on CD, especially because you're gonna be spending so much Maelstrom that like if you don't, you're gonna be missing more lava bursts than the earth shocks that you would get, if that makes sense. So it kind of is it's slightly, ever so slightly more damage just because of the amount of lava bursts that you're getting out, as opposed to the wasted maelstrom probably amounting to maybe like one earth shock, which to be fair can be up to like 20 something k damage, if it critted. So again, super min-maxy thing. You could probably give varying answers depending on who you ask. I don't think it's anything to think too deep about. I just recommend personally just spending all the lava bursts in this situation, um, and just getting the rotation flowing again. So you're gonna see me deal with Stormkeeper first. I have Icefury on CD, it's sitting there, which also feels really bad. I also got a refund on Primordial Wave from the Conduit. Um, so I have a lot of Maelstrom at this point to deal with, which is good and bad, because it's a lot of decision making to think about. Probably what I'm thinking about here is, especially since I know the bone side is coming, so that means there's going to be a lot of movement coming up. Um, in some cases, you could Ice Fury during the Stormkeeper. It's good to do that sometimes. But right now, like I said, we're just probably going to deal with the Stormkeeper first, get that off. Especially since another thing to keep in mind is if you have your Hymir stacks, like you can see here, my Hymir at 7, and at 10, of course, it turns into the crit. Um, if you know your Hymir stacks are going to be up soon, it's kind of better to slightly delay that Ice Fury so that you can get as close as possible to 10 and then cast Ice Fury. That way you have the guaranteed, or not the guaranteed, but the extra like 20% crit, or I think it's 18%, sorry, during the Ice Fury. So, like I said, you're probably just going to see me deal with the Stormkeeper fully, Primordial Wave, then probably do a Lava Burst with the Primordial Wave into a Earth Shock, then I'll probably cast Ice Fury. So we'll see here. See if I do exactly that. Yep, I do. I don't Primordial Wave though, which is kind of sus. I did it kind of late. That's fine, because it will dump again. And you'll see, so the first 5 seconds of my Ice Fury, I actually didn't spend any. I spent only one. After I just mentioned, you want to like line up the Hymir with the Ice Fury. In this specific, the thing about Ice Fury is there's so many different situations, which is probably why it's kind of hard to find information on it. But that's why I'm kind of doing this in-depth guide, just to help anyone out who really wants to figure out how this works. You can see a lot of different situations just here in this fight. In this situation, because I also had Elemental Blast coming back up from kind of having to do another pull of the fight, basically, like as far as like a pre-pull goes, the order. I had the Elemental Blast coming up, so it was just better to kind of sit on the Frost Shock charges, even though that means I get less Frost Shocks during the extra crit, which is potential damage I'm losing out on. Like I said, it's just better to get them out because my priority now is dealing with all this Maelstrom. So I want to just get maximum effectiveness out of the Maelstrom. So I get the Lava Burst off here. I'm probably going to do another Earth Shock, then Lava Burst, and then... So the side that's going out right now. So I'm probably what I'm gonna do here is I have Spirit Walker's Grace, but there's no need to use it right now because of Icefury. So I can just kind of use the Frost Shocks as movement to make my way through the spikes here. That's probably what I'll do here. I have a lot of instants right now, and yep, do exactly that. Then I'll Lava Burst and Earth Shock, and then normal rotation. So yeah, we'll just play through. You can see how I kind of decide to make my movement and Maelstrom management kind of go through. Right now it's really easy, of course. Also, we less in this phase, which is kind of troll because I would have had a way better pool. But what can you do? Okay, so this is the next Icefury, and this Spirit Walker's Grace here is bad. I would never do a Spirit Walker's Grace into an Icefury like I just did right there because it's, I mean, they accomplish the same thing. So I just kind of wasted Spirit Walkers for no reason just because I wanted like the extra cast that I wouldn't have gotten. Which is, I generally wouldn't manage that until you're very confident in the spec, or like if you're on farm and you just don't care, kind of like I was here. So, um, yeah, but you can see that I do the Icefury, and it just kind of lined it up naturally with the spikes, which was really good. So I get to just use the Icefury fully for movement here. So you're going to see me just kind of spend it solely on movement, but I have Spirit Walkers, so actually I can do a Lava Burst into an Earth Shock, and then probably Elemental Blast, and then double Frost Shock, or Lava Burst, Frost Shock, Frost Shock. So we'll see what I decide to do here, and we'll talk about if it's good. Yep, so I did the Lava Burst and Earth Shock, but then I did the Lava Burst, Frost Shock, kind of like I mentioned. I think it would have been better here to get the Elemental Blast taken care of first, upon review, but I think I was focused on making sure I didn't run over any traps that someone I dropped in a weird spot, so that's kind of how just a small thing can take your attention away from making the correct choice. Because the correct choice would have definitely been just Elemental Blast, as soon as my Maelstrom and like positioning would allow. But yeah, so you see me do that, and then he's gonna phase in like 3% as well. So right now we're just trying to prepare for the Stormkeeper because it's coming up. So we're gonna do that, probably Primordial, yep, dump. I really should be just, oh, okay, never mind. We like phased so quick that I decided that it wasn't worth it to try to get the Stormkeeper up because we're gonna Stormkeeper with Fire Ellie in the next phase and just shit on the boss. So we'll go through the intermission. Almost done. Oh yeah, and nice little tip. Whenever there's intermissions like this and you know the boss is coming out at like a scheduled time, just go ahead and again treat it like I mentioned before, like it's a pre-pull. Like don't be afraid to pre-cast your Stormkeeper like way before the boss comes, because that means that you might get an extra use out of it, just because you'll be sitting there. So yeah, we have everything back up, so we're gonna treat it like we did before, coming out of the first intermission, where we're just gonna focus on getting out all the spells, the higher priority ones, making sure they're getting put on CD as soon as possible. So we're gonna go through the Stormkeeper rotation, get rid of Elemental Blast, Primordial Wave, get rid of Lava Burst, probably Earth Shock here, then Lava Burst again, then Lightning Bolt, then Lava Burst, then Earth Shock. Oh no, it's okay. So my bad. I probably wasn't looking at the timer when I was watching myself do that, but so in situations like that where like it's really tight with getting your Stormkeeper out, you just want to, even if it puts you like 2 cap or cap, like Stormkeeper Lightning Bolts hit super fucking hard. So they are the highest priority thing you possibly have. You always want to make sure those are moted over everything else. So yeah, I made sure that I got the moat for the Stormkeeper, even though it was going to put me really close to cap and put me in an awkward situation with Lava Burst charges, just Maelstrom in general. So I just make sure I got the Stormkeeper Lightning Bolt off as far as priority goes, and then got the Primordial Wave back on CD again. So yeah, this is gonna put me slightly over, but it's fine. Should have Missile Blasted there. Should not have Icefury. That was a poor choice, even considering the fact that we're about to move a lot in a second here. It was still better to Elemental Blast into Lava Burst, then Earth Shock, then I would Icefury, Lava Burst, and then start moving because I have plenty of time to move through this spike while it's coming. But this also might have just been, yeah, this is a spike ball set, So that can be taken into account. I still think I probably would have gotten everything off, especially if, this is important to note, if I didn't do that stupid ass Spirit Walker's Grace earlier in the fight, I would have actually had it right now. It wouldn't still be on CD. So I could have actually gotten everything off for free there in the correct order instead of doing it suboptimally like I did here. So that's another thing to take note. And then you'll see me just, I kind of let these go for a while just because I can. And again, this is just one thing you need to remember. You don't need to spend your frost shocks like immediately when you ice free, and don't focus on moding them. Just know that you need to eventually cast them all, but it's not like an immediate urgent thing. Like you still have other things that take precedence, and you want to make sure that those get done. Then you take care of the frost shocks. So you're gonna see me use them to actually help out killing the spike ball for once during this fight, because I barely helped out at all during this pull. And then just do everything, and then again, you can see me kind of staying at low Maelstrom because I know Icefury is coming up soon. We have this awkward overlap where we have to just run through early. We're gonna Icefury here, then we're gonna Elemental Blast and probably just dump. Oh, nope, I greeted. That was a mistake. Don't do what I just did there. And then we have Stormkeeper coming up. It's gonna be the last Stormkeeper of the fight most likely, so we just wanna get rid of these frost shocks. We have a lot of time because it's the last Stormkeeper up. There's not a huge rush. You can see me kind of hold it for a while there instead of just immediately spend. And then we're going to use the Stormkeepers plus the Spirit Walkers instance to just kind of make my way through. And you can see I let my Stormkeeper actually go for a while, and that's something that you should also remember. With Stormkeeper and Icefury, you have a lot of time actually to use them. So make sure you do make full use of that at the time. Don't panic and feel like, okay, I Stormkeepered, I instantly need to use both these charges. You have 15 seconds, take care of other things first, and you'll, as you get more comfortable, you'll notice just how long a time 15 seconds really is to take care of those charges. So we'll play the rest of the fight as it ends. Get the last Icefury out, and it lines up with the Heimer, so I'm going to make sure that I dump first so that I trigger the Heimer and I can empower all the Frost Shocks with crit. And yeah, that was a pretty good pull for me. Details doesn't show the correct damage, so that was a 5.4, I think, or 5.5k pull, which was, I think, like third actually, and that was a 99 parse. So, and even in a 99 parse, obviously it's a heroic, so much broader skill variant, so 99 parse doesn't mean as much. But even in a 99 parse, you can see I had a lot of optimizations that I could have done to play it slightly better. A lot of different decision making that could have happened that would have, I think, in retrospect, been better. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the decision making that goes in Icefury. So as far as that go, I hope this helps. Like I said, for me, it was a struggle to actually obtain any real concrete like guidelines on how to play Icefury, the decision making that goes into it and everything, because the Shaman Discord is really sparse as far as that's concerned. But again, yeah, hope that helped a lot. For any aspiring LE mains out there, I'm really enjoying the spec a lot. It's probably the only spec I probably enjoy in the game as a refugee mage main, so I'll keep working myself to get better at the spec, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, subscribe, and see you next time. Peace.